Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Daily Connections. I'm Sinika Waugh with your Clear Next Step. Today is Wednesday, and for some folks, it's been a full week since they sort of started this new life. Sometimes it's been a week and a half. Some people are midweek into it. And I have a colleague who is in China, and she had a sort of a post this morning of discouragement. And her post this morning, she's been on quarantine in the story that she's been sharing. She's been on quarantine for over 8 weeks now. They're going on week 9. And she has been faithfully sharing information about what's been going on and just to share with her friends. And I've really enjoyed that update. And today, I was just really struck by her sense of discouragement after an extended period of time working remotely and kind of being in her own space and not being able to connect with her colleagues and the people that she usually helps and serves and leads. She was really discouraged, and I got to thinking about that. And I don't think it takes all of us 8 weeks or 9 weeks to get discouraged. I think some of us can get discouraged after a day. Some of us can get discouraged after a disruptive moment or some things that aren't working right. And so today the topic is around finding hope, finding moments of encouragement, finding joy. It's really looking back at those things with some pretty tactical approaches that I want to offer. So whether you today in your moment today, whether you've encountered one of these things where you needed a shot in the arm, if you will, a boost, a dose of positivity, or whether you know someone who needs that, I think these tips will still apply. And so I just want to share a couple of them, and then I'll share some other resources as well. So the first one is in that moment. The tip is in the moment, catch yourself. When you know that you are spiraling out of control, when you know that you're discouraged, when you know that you are the weight of the world is falling on your shoulders, and what you want to do is run crying or screaming or yelling or bury your head in under some pillows or whatever it is you want. If you're sensing that overwhelm and that sense of discouragement that often looks like fear or anger or sadness. When you're sensing that, one of the things that I invite us to do is just catch yourself. You know it, right? I mean, in the emotional intelligence classes we talk about being able to kind of get a grip, being aware of your emotions and what's going on. And so when your heart rate has changed. You know when you can hear your voice and there's a choke in your voice. You know when your eyes are welling up with tears. You know when your body is telling you, hey, I'm overwhelmed and I'm frustrated. And so I invite you in that moment to catch it and go, oh, I know what I am. I am overwhelmed. I am frustrated. I am sorrowful. I am afraid. I am fearful. Give it a name. Catch yourself in that moment. And in that moment, as you give it a name, quickly make a change of focus. So stand up from your desk and walk out the front door. Make sure it's safe and that you can do so, but go for a walk, clear your vision, change your focus, do something else. Pick up the phone and call a friend, pray, read scripture, meditate. If you are a person of faith, claim that faith right now. And in that moment, as soon as you identify it, as soon as you're aware of your body changing and going towards the negative, catch yourself and say, wait, I want to change my focus. I want to think about something else for a second so that I can regain mastery. Because sometimes what happens is in those moments, we get, we just start to spiral out of control, and then we can't think about anything else. We start to think about all the other terrible things that might be going on, and it sort of piles on top of us. And so I invite you, as soon as you notice it, to catch it and then do something. Actively make a change in that moment. Once you have a grip, right? You went outside, you caught your breath, you took a deep breath, you talked to someone, you picked up a phone call. Even if you're not talking about what's going on, you're changing your focus so you can get mastery over your emotions. Then the next thing I want you to do is I want you to name the thing that's causing you stress. Really put your arm around it. Are you stressed out because in this particular moment, your laptop just crashed for no apparent reason? Or are you frustrated because you can't reach that person? Or are you frustrated because you saw data in a way that is discouraging to you? Are you frustrated because you haven't connected with another human in a really long time? But name it. Name why you're feeling stressed, why you're feeling overwhelmed, why you're feeling negative, and kind of where it's coming from. Is it coming from a moment? Is it coming from that social media feed that you're reading that's full of negativity? Is it coming from an email that you just got, or what's it coming from? So really figure out that thing that's causing you stress, and then evaluate the extent to which that is real, true, and permanent. It may be real, but it may not be permanent. And it may be neither of those things. your feelings are your feelings. And I'm not, as we think about emotional intelligence, I'm not asking you to not have those feelings. I'm asking you to, in emotional intelligence, to get a hold of them, to be aware of them, and then figure out what actions you're going to take because of them. Um, are you going to let that be what defines your day or your attitude or your interactions with another human? Are you going to let that be what defines your productivity for the rest of the day? Are you going to let that be the thing that dictates your attitude for the rest of your workday or your evening or into the week? And it's up to you to decide that. But making the choice then allows you that flexibility. If you are able to identify some reason that this is not permanent and this is not really a reason to just chuck it all and go back to bed, then identify one concrete tactical thing you can do next. So sometimes we get overwhelmed. The gal that I was referring to this morning in her post, she was so frustrated because she's frustrated with technology, trying to connect with people in technology rather than voice to voice. And a tactical thing that she can do is to, instead of using Zoom or Skype or any of those other technologies, to actually pick up the phone and call, right? Try something different. Change the approach. If the approach that you've been working isn't working, try something else. Try to write a letter to your future self, or jot down a note, or color a book, or as you're thinking about tactical things you can do. This is really a tactical thing that you can say, I can get this step done. And when I get this step done, I can move on to the next thing. And it's going to give you that sense of completion. It's going to give you that sense of, I can accomplish something. It's going to give you a sense of something you can celebrate, so you can focus as you move on to the next step. And then think about, once you've thought kind of that through, what's next, right? Use that momentum to figure out what the next step is from that. One of my fears for us right now, as we're in isolation and as we're separated from each other, and we get all caught up in the crazy thoughts that go up in our heads, and I don't mean that lightly, and I'm sorry if it sounded that way, but as we get churning in the mental stories that we're telling ourselves, without our colleagues and our friends to refocus us, right? To snap their fingers and remind us that, hey, we're not alone. We're in a conversation. We're in another situation. There are other things to talk about. There are other things to do. My fear is, in isolation, that we're going to spiral more quickly than we used to, and it's going to last a little bit longer. And so my tip is for us to find something that encourages you and really focus on that in a new way. One of the tips I learned from Bonnie St. John in her book, Micro Resilience, is she talks about what is it? She calls it a first aid kit, and it's a virtual first aid kit. And the idea is, just like you don't need Band-Aids all the time, right? But you have a first aid kit for Band-Aids and bandages when there's an emergency. The idea of this virtual or this visual first aid kit is a collection. Maybe it's on a single piece of paper, maybe it's in a little box, maybe it's in your desk drawer, maybe it's taped up over someplace that you can just quickly look at it. And it's a picture of things that lift you up. It's a visual representation of things that inspire you and motivate you and remind you to smile. A picture of your kids when they were super little, and it's one of your favorite pictures. A picture of your favorite place to vacation when you were a kid or growing up. A picture of your boat, if you have a boat, and I don't know, I hear people like boats. If you have a picture of your favorite state park or place to be. But it's got these visual pictures, words, quotes, Bible verses, scriptures, whatever you need to put on there that is a reminder to you of joy. And what I invite you to do is have this virtual first aid. And maybe that's one of the things, in addition to phoning your friend or going outside, but at that very first moment when you notice that you're starting to spiral, take a look at that positive thing and just redirect. Allow your thoughts to get redirected to something positive and uplifting. I share this with you now in hopes that each of you can benefit from this and use it to your own extent. But also, if you need to share these tips with a friend, if you need to encourage someone in those moments, you know your colleagues, your friends, who is more likely to need a boost. And I invite you to see what you can do to help them as well. So some number of months ago, we had a series, a newsletter series on finding joy. And we had 4 ways to find joy in the moment. And then we had 3 ways to find joy at work and 3 ways to find joy in life. And we are going to work to repurpose those, make sure that those are available to you as well. And it's all kind of in the same vein of, in that moment, don't allow the moment to rob you of a greater joy.